Hi, this is Pastor Katie Ricky here at First United Methodist Church in Yankton, and I am joined today with Stacy Starzl Hansen, who is the Executive Director of River City Domestic Violence Center. Stacy, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So part of the reason that we have Stacy on today is that right now we are, as a church, doing our Sweetheart Tree, and our Sweetheart Tree is our way of supporting the Domestic Violence Center through our gifts of donations. And so we have already a big pile of donations under the tree, everything from toilet paper to garbage bags to shampoo and soaps and all that. And we're going to continue taking in those donations through Valentine's Day, I believe. And so you still have time to do that. But part of our goal today is to visit with Stacy to learn more about what the Domestic Violence Center is about and whether or not this is a mission that is close to your heart and you want to be a part of. So Stacy, I'm just so glad to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
And so Stacy, you're relatively new to this position. I mean, I feel like I'm the newest person having started this summer, but you started in October, is that right?
I did. I started as the Executive Director at River City Domestic Violence Center in October. I was previously here as the Director of Operations for a year. And before that, I was the Family Connections Coordinator for Family Connections, which is the sister agency for River City Domestic Violence Center.
So you've been connected with this for a while now. You just kind of been in charge of a lot more as you go. So.
Yes, I have been.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about the River City Domestic Violence Center and the work that you do there?
Yeah, so we provide a safe haven to victims of domestic violence and sexual assault and those who are affected by human trafficking. We exist to break the cycle of domestic violence and sexual assault in our community through survivor empowerment, advocacy, education, awareness, and social change. And so we really provide that safe haven for anyone that is needing some place to go and needs help. But we also provide lots of other services when they're not ready to leave that home or that place yet. So many of our survivors that we work with, they say that a victim will leave, 7 to 11 times in their lifetime before they actually leave their abuser. And before they actually leave that last time, and it could be like the 15th time, we have been working with those survivors from the beginning on different things of legal advice and medical advocacy and court accompaniment, protection orders, anything that they need, just support to gain the strength and self-esteem and put those tools that they need in their toolbox. So each time that they come in, they need some help and they go back, they're a little bit stronger, so that maybe the 5th time that they're here, they've got some tools in their toolbox ready for them and they can use with them at home. And then by the time they leave for the last time, they feel confident that they are ready to go.
Yeah, I think that's something that that surprised me was how long the process usually is for someone, that it's not just a wake up one morning and I'm done with this and cut loose, but really that it takes a long time and how many factors there are. I think a lot of people probably wouldn't realize the amount of legal things that come into play.
Legal things, children, they love their partner. There's making sure that they have a roof over their head. There's so many reasons to stay, and also wanting to end the cycle of abuse at the same time.
Yeah, so I'm just really grateful that we have a place like this in Yankton. And I wonder too if there are people that really wonder how much of a need there is here for this kind of service, but there's quite a need.
There is a need. So even last year in 2020, we served 310 victims with 47 of them being men and 259 of them being women, and then we have 4 that are unreported. But we had 1,264 shelter nights, with 445 of those shelter nights being children. And then we had 43 sexual assaults here in Yankton.
Wow.
And you know, Yankton community doesn't think that it doesn't happen here in Yankton, but it does, and it happens often.
And I think another piece of it that's really important is that it's not just women and children, that men are also the victims of domestic violence, and that there's help for them as well here. We often talk about it as a women and children sort of thing, but really it's true that anyone can
Sorry about that.
oh, that's all right, that anyone can suffer from this, and anyone can get help for it as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So you said shelter nights, so talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so someone could come in for a shelter night, and they may have a family. It could be a mama and 3 children, and so you have that family staying, and they may stay 1 or 2 nights, and then they may feel comfortable to go back home. Maybe their abuser is out, or is in jail, but now is out. They feel like they've cooled down, they can go home, and they end up coming back to the shelter, maybe a year later, maybe it's 3 weeks later, and depending on the situation. And this time they may stay in shelter for a week and go through the process, work on a protection order maybe this time. And then, maybe by the 5th time that they leave, they've stayed in shelter 15 nights. By the time they leave the last time, they may have stayed 30 days. So it really depends on how long they stay, and then while they're here and working what we call a 30-day to success program when they are here in our shelter. Those individuals, so if there's 3 children that stay for a shelter night, that we don't call it 1 shelter night, we call it 3 shelter nights, because that's 3 individuals. And so when we talk about 445 shelter nights, that means that there was 444 separate instances of separate children in our shelter.
Oh, that's such a hard thing to kind of wrap your brain around, that these things affect not just the people in the relationship, but the families as well, and to provide that safe haven for the children as well, I think is so important. Mm-hmm. And so, you talked about like the success. What does it feel like for you to see someone who is able to finally kind of break free from that cycle of abuse? What is, and have you seen that in your time there?
Yeah, we see it, often, not all the time, but it, because it is a process. A lot of people think that this is an event, but it's an actual process. And when we see that success of someone that is independent, they have their own bank account, the bills are in their name, they have their own apartment or their own home, and they have their children with them at home, that their children are able to stay with them. They're holding a job, and they are completely independent. That is so wonderful of a feeling, to know that we help them along the way gain the tools of getting their birth certificates, filling out those applications for housing, because those are not easy tasks, filling out housing applications when you have 0 credit or 0 information to your name, and you may not have even had your birth certificate to do that. It takes a long time to just get to the process of being able to fill out the housing applications, and then to actually get it done and be accepted into an apartment or a house is a wonderful feeling for them. And then for them to be there a year later or 2 years later and still, continuing services with us, we still provide those services and help them and keep them so they can gain more self-esteem, to continue with their life is just a wonderful feeling. It just makes us so proud of them, and they have got to be just beaming. I mean, we see them beaming, and so it just makes us beam. And you know, a lot of times we see a lot of the heartache, but when we get to see them in their own home and taking care of their children, that is just a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, I'm sure that this kind of work can really take a toll, as you said, that people are coming in multiple times before they can really make any progress toward kind of a healthy life situation, but to also have that investment and to be able to see it through to someone's success story, that can be pretty powerful and pretty impactful, hopefully pretty motivating as well for
It is.
you and your staff.
Yeah, we always walk alongside them. We don't push them. We are here to walk with them on their journey, because it's their journey, not our journey. And they make the decisions, and they get to decide, when they're ready to move forward, or if they are not ready. I mean, it's all them. It's their choices.
And part of you walking alongside of them and your staff walking alongside of them is to connect them. Like you said, you've mentioned that you do work on the legal side of things. You're helping them fill out housing applications. So my guess is that you and your staff are pretty well connected and understand well what's available here in Yankton for support. And
yes, we use a lot of community resources. We are, work with the Department of Labor. We work with a lot of the housing here in Yankton, especially the medical, and with YPD. We're in contact with YPD every day, Sheriff's Office, the court system up there. And, but our medical is very essential to us, and, that medical advocacy to make sure that they, are okay when they come in, that they don't need medical help, and two, while they're staying here, what are their needs while they are here? Do we need to make doctor's appointments for them? Do they, what do they need while they're here? So, making sure that we have those referrals here on hand and can readily access them so that they have that information.
Yeah, because again, I'm relatively new to Yankton, but I've been really impressed with the amount of community resources that are out there. And so often people, I think, just when they're in crisis, get a little overwhelmed and not really sure where to turn. And so to have places where they can go and that are connected and fully utilize what's available there, I think that's important.
Mm-hmm.
If there is someone who's watching this podcast who maybe feels like this is the situation that they find themselves in, what would you recommend that they do?
I would recommend that they give us a call at 665-1448. That's our 24/7 crisis line. If they can't reach out that way, they can reach us through our Facebook messaging app, or go on our website and send us a message through there. There is a quick exit, so if you are on our website and someone walks into a room when you are on that website, you can quickly exit out of that site, and it'll take you to a random Google page, so that no one can see that you were on that site. But I would have them reach out to us at the crisis line 1448, 665-1448.
Yes, and I've as a pastor, one of the things that we deal with is we have people coming to the church often for food or rent assistance or things like that, and I've had people that have come in who have expressed that this is their situation and have referred them to the domestic violence center, saying they're here to believe you and they're here to help you. And so I've seen it myself in the short time that I've been living and working here, that this is real. This is a real need in our community.
It is.
One of the other things that you mentioned that I don't want to lose is that you also do work around human trafficking, and so that's something else that's happening here in Yankton. Again, things that we don't necessarily want to think about, but it's the reality of life today.
Yeah.
And so you want to share a little more about that?
Sure, we have an anti-human trafficking coordinator. She is in contact with Call to Freedom up in Sioux Falls, so she works with the staff up there, and then she is on our payroll here. Um, we see a lot of human trafficking in Yankton, and that's due to the fact that we have that I-80 route and the I-90 route as well. And then there are gangs in around the Sioux City area and in the Vermilion area. They just, you know, it's very complicated, but the fact that human traffickers do not have one abuser, they have many abusers. So it's a multi-layer cycle of abuse. And there's different types of trafficking. There's labor trafficking, there's familiar trafficking that's within the families. And we see that one a lot here in South Dakota, the familiar trafficking. There's gun trafficking, it's so layered and complicated, but it is very prevalent in our community. And that's one thing that I'm sure that a lot of the Yankton community is not aware of, that this actually goes on in our community. It passes through our community. It's picked up and taken from our community. It is very sad, and for a survivor to come forward in human trafficking is very rare, because they feel like they've already that they have done something wrong, they're going to get in trouble for something, or their life is in severe danger for coming forward. And so it's very difficult to work with these survivors and gain their trust. But we have seen success with them, and having them stay here. They seem like they stay a little bit longer than our domestic violence victims. They end up staying like more like a transitional housing, but it's not transitional housing. The process just takes longer, and we have seen success. We have seen a mama gain her babies back, and get on her own feet and get her own job and get away from her traffickers. It does happen. We can make it a success. And with that help, I mean, it's a success because as a state, as a whole, we work together. So.
Yeah, that's oh, just my heart is, it's just such a hard thing. And like you said, it can be hard to gain access to them and to know who they are, because they are so entrenched. And but it's real, and it's just so good to hear that hope that it can change, that the resources are there. So I'm feeling moved already, but as far as how can those of us who are listening to this podcast today or watching it, what can we do to support the work that you are doing? How can we be involved? How can we what can we be doing?
You can watch for signs with your friends and your family. You can educate yourself on the power and control wheel, coercions and threats. And when you know of someone that is a victim of abuse, is to support them, believe them. Try not to deny the fact that it's happening. They need someone so that they can trust. And they may not feel like they can trust us yet, but if they can trust that one person out there, then that person can be there when they really need them. And eventually they can maybe get to our agency and we can help them. I guess it's all about education and awareness, and we try our best in the community to get out there and do the education and awareness. But unless you are are getting that information and you see it, you can't be there. You don't know what to say. It's, you worry, like, are you going to say the right thing?
Mhm.
But the right thing to do and say is just to say, I believe you. I'm here to support you. I'm here for you. Um, Very simple. And just be there every time that they call and listen to them.
So to validate, to say, yeah,
Hmm.
this is what you're, yes, you are really going through this. And
Hmm.
yeah, because probably so often they're hearing the opposite, or they're being told that it's not a big deal, or they're making a big deal out of something.
Hmm.
So to have someone believe them, I think is so big and so huge. So right now we are, like I said, taking donations with our Sweetheart Tree. Are there other ways that people can be supporting or helping the work that you do?
Yeah, so the Sweetheart Tree is great because we are not able to purchase like cleaning supplies, those essential items that go with a shelter, uh, because the grants don't pay for that. The great, when you think about someone, a family of like a mama and 3 children, like I talked about, staying in shelter for 30 days, think about all the shampoo and the food and toilet paper and all that that goes with that. Uh, it adds up. And
Right.
so those little things, the trash bags, those things are greatly needed in our shelter, and we love getting those items uh, that the community can bring forward for us. And other things the community can do for us is, we do have things that they could help volunteer with. We have an Operation Move In, where they can help a family move in, just kind of be ready if a family needs to move into a home. We have our Operation, I forget what it's called. It's our gardening.
Oh, okay.
Our Operation Green Thumb is what it's called, where they can help with our landscaping in the spring and the summer and fall. And we also have our Operation Dignity with our clothing. We do take in some clothing, not very much, because we have the clothing closet and we work closely with them. But we do have an area of some clothing where we kind of keep some clothing on hand, so that if they come in without any clothes on them, with them, that they came really into the shelter fast, that we have underwear and socks for the whole family, and a change of clothes that they can wear. um, you know we take volunteers to help clean the shelter, and just clean different areas or do different projects around the shelter that we as staff haven't been able to get to. And so we are always looking for volunteers to do different things. Of course, with COVID, um, that some of our volunteers haven't been able to volunteer like they could in the past, due to having visitors into our facility. But it's now going to be getting to be spring soon, and we have things that can be done outside, and things like that. We also, the prison, it has made us new beds that we purchased from the prison up in Springfield, and we're going to be having to assemble all of these new beds. And
Oh,
so that is something that we're looking forward to, and we'll probably need some volunteers to help us with that as well. And so all good things that are happening, but also with COVID kind of putting a little kink in our fun. So
yeah, COVID, oh man. There's a long list of things that COVID has made difficult for sure.
yes.
If someone is interested in helping, like say, put together the beds or to help with those different operations like moving days, what is the best way for them to kind of let you know that they would be available or interested in doing those things?
Sure. So there's a couple of different ways. They can call us at our office at 665-4811, and they can ask for Anna. She helps the volunteers. The other way is through United Way. They have a Galaxy, United Galaxy, which lists all of our volunteering opportunities. So you can pick which one you want to volunteer with. And as soon as you sign up, it'll just send us an email and we'll get in contact with you.
Oh, great. I love it when things are streamlined like that.
Yeah.
Very well. Well, I'm so grateful to have you join me today. Is there anything else that you think that would be useful for us to know about the work that you guys do?
Uh, I don't think so. I mean, I think that just knowing, the other thing I would say is that we have our sister agency, River City Family Connections, and our Family Connections is the agency that helps with safe exchanges and supervised visitation. So sometimes the courts will mandate that the families, they can't be in contact, the parents can't be in contact because of a court order or a protection order. And so to exchange the children, they're in violation of that protection order. And so we're here to provide that safe exchange. So they come in one door, another comes in another door, and there's staggered times, and then we're able to exchange the children safely. And sometimes it's just due to conflict, that they just cannot get along, that they're always arguing in front of the child, or they're verbally aggressive. And so they use our facility to do the safe exchanges. And then we also, sometimes the courts will mandate that they have to have supervised visitation. So we provide those supervised visitations with narrations that we send back to the courts. And we also provide those for DSS here in Yankton County. I should say any county that they work with, we provide that for them. But so we have a staff with River City Family Connections that is trained on monitoring and taking narrations, knowing what should be said, what shouldn't be said, and working with those parents on co-parenting, really teaching them how to co-parent so that they can at some point be successful in getting along with the whole family, and that with the child, that they may not need our services here. And so River City Family Connections is just a great resource for the Yankton community as well.
Yeah, it seems that, between the two, you guys are doing a lot of good and meeting a lot of needs within our community. And I'm really grateful that is happening, and hopefully we as a church can continue to support that and work with you and hopefully help continue to change lives, which is, ultimately what we all hope for, is for people to feel like they can have the best life that they can have. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing about the River City Domestic Violence Center and all that you guys are doing.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, one final question. You had mentioned some resources about, learning about some of the things to look for. Can people find that on your website, or?
I'm not sure. I would have to look at our website. It's been a little bit since I actually looked at our website, but we do have a brochure too that we could send out, that because we do get a lot of family members or friends that are really concerned about loved ones, and so we do have a brochure that we can send out to help them. Or you can just call us and we will talk you through it and talk about what they can do to help them if they don't want to come in, or they don't want to use our services, because we definitely want them to get any of the help that they need.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much. And hopefully we'll continue to partner for years and years to come.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of What's Going On, a video and audio podcast of First United Methodist Church in Yankton, South Dakota. You can join us for worship Sundays at 10 a.m., either online at www.firstumcyankton.org or in person with our safety protocols in place. We do require mask and social distancing. We hope to see you in worship. God bless.